Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of the ISHR Perspectives podcast, the podcast where we try to bring views from different stakeholders at the International School Hanover region to the table. I am your host, Nick Huneman, and today we'll be discussing the IB Diploma. Today, I've invited three wonderful guests. Our first guest is Mr. Liebster. Mr. Liebster, would you mind introducing yourself quickly?
Absolutely. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm Franz Liebster. I teach German and English at the diploma level at ISHR. And I myself am a diploma graduate, IB graduate, class of 2013. So it's great to be here.
Our next guest is Jon Tanis. Jon, would you mind introducing yourself quickly?
Yeah. Hello, my name's Jon Tanis. I am a current IB student, class of 2024. I'll be writing my first IB exam in 5 days. So, it's good to be here.
And finally, we have Kevin.
Hello, I'm Kevin Schindler, graduate of 2022, and I'm now in my second year of university.
Well, I'm glad to have you all here today, and let's just kick it off with a nice and easy question for Mr. Liebster. Would you mind giving us a brief overview of the IB Diploma?
Absolutely. So the Diploma Program is a 2-year program. It is the end of the IB program in which students choose a variety of classes, either at the standard or higher level. And more than just the coursework, there is, of course, the extended essay, the famous kind of research essay that is challenging sometimes, but as maybe we'll talk about later, I think it is quite a valuable experience to do an extended essay. And of course, there's the theory of knowledge class, kind of moving towards philosophy, epistemology, these kinds of things, something that I got a lot out of when I was in school, and maybe we'll end up talking about that today too. And last but not least, CAS, of course, community. Oh, someone help me out here.
Creativity Action Service.
Good, Creativity Action Service, yeah. Which I think, extends that learning and that kind of involvement outside of the classroom in a nice way. So a well-rounded, rigorous program with lots to like. And I like teaching in it, and I'm sure you guys like being in it. And we'll hear some more about that. Jon, what's your experience been like, for example?
Yeah, I mean, sort of the stereotype with the IB program is that it's this very academically challenging curriculum where you have your 6 classes that you pick and then your final exams in May of your second year in 12th grade. But I found it to be, it has definitely been challenging. It has had its moments where it's been, pulling my hair out trying to meet deadlines. But overall, I've had a very positive experience in the IB, which I'm not sure a lot of students can say. I'm not sure about that one. But as you said, Mr. Liebster, you've got the different components and sort of the core with TOK and the EE and CAS. And I think you hit all of the major components there.
I'm glad.
Yeah, well, so it's pretty much made up of 3 higher level classes. You can't pick a 4th one, right?
Yeah, but you shouldn't.
Well, I mean, if you're up for the challenge, then do go for it. But that does mean that you'll have to write an extra higher level essay, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's something you might want to consider. So maybe Jon or Kevin, you two want to what are the additional things that add on to the final exams within the classes? So IAs, higher level essays, these types of things? IOs?
Yeah, so depending on whether it's like a math or a science or a language, you'll have an additional piece of component work separate from your final exam. So in the languages, that is the individual oral, the IO, where you need to speak, and it's, you're analyzing texts, or in German B, for example, we have pictures that we need to analyze, and then that's recorded and sent off to the IB. And then in most of your classes, you have the IA, the internal assessment. That's right. So in math, that's like a math project, sort of a math essay that you write. In the sciences, that is an experiment that you carry out and then write up a lab report for. And so that's just sort of an additional project that you have time to work on outside of the IB exams. And I know for a lot of students, that's nice because you have this sort of, it takes some of the pressure of the final exams away because you have this other component that you can rely on.
Yeah, I think the IAs or IOs are quite a good thing to have next to the exam itself. Because what I found was that these IAs actually give a more physical approach to solving a problem that you've created yourself, you know? For example, especially in computer science, it was a project where you actually start coding an actual program, and that actually has to work at the end. Whereas the exam is only theory, like pseudocode, for example, which is not actual code for the people that don't know. Yeah. Or, for example, in physics, the IA, you actually have to carry out an experiment, like you said, which is quite nice instead of only doing calculations all day.
Yeah, it gives you like the practical sort of experience there
Exactly.
as well.
Yeah, and for like the 10th graders who are now going into 11th grade, or 9th graders going into 10th grade who will then go into 11th grade, are there any tips you would give regarding the course selection?
For me, I think the best recommendation I can give is to pick classes you're interested in and that you're passionate about. There's obviously other factors, like depending on what you want to study in university, and if you want to study in Germany, for example, there's specific requirements. But for me, the thing that has really helped me the most to get through the IB is picking classes that I really enjoyed learning in and taking part in. And that helps when you have big projects or deadlines that maybe can be stressful. You sort of can come at them with, I enjoy doing this. This is something that is meaningful to me. And I think that is the most important thing you can look for when you're picking your classes.
Yeah, and I just like to add to that like, especially if you have any very specific universities in mind, do check out what requirements they have, because some universities have special rules where they don't accept any, like, for example, arts or these types of things, or psychology. Just like for any 10th graders out there, please make sure to check what your university wants, because then you might end up not getting into the university just because of a course you picked, and I think that's pretty sad if that ends up happening to you. And while we're on the topic of universities, Kevin, you now study here in Hanover.
I study at the Leibniz-Universität Hannover. It's a STEM-related course. In English, it's called Business and Engineering. In German, you would call it Wirtschaftsingenieur. I knew from the start that I was going to pick like an engineering major. So that's why I also took the courses in school. Computer science and physics, HL, and also economics. And I'd say for the 10th graders, and like going back to the topic from previously we were talking about, if you have a plan, you have to stick to it. Like, you have to invest time into it and stick to the plan. Because if you were going to change your plans throughout, it's going to be really messy, and you're going to end up in a place where you don't want to be.
Yeah, and so how do you think the diploma prepared you? Do you think it prepared you well for universities, or like, what is your view on that?
That's a good question. Now, it's a mixture, honestly, because, for example, the things I learned here in school, for example, computer science, physics, and economics prepared me quite well for the stuff we are building on in university. I was also told that the math course, AISL, which I took, was going to be sufficient for university, which it was for applications. However, the math that I'm doing in university now is quite a bit more rigorous than the one we did at school. And I think if you're going to know you want to pursue the STEM major later in university, you have to pick AAHL, because that's really the foundation that you're going to build on in university with mathematics and everything math related.
Yeah, and Mr. Liebster, an IB graduate yourself, how about you? What's your opinion?
So I guess the context for me is that I did the diploma program in the United States at an American high school, where the IB program was actually opt-in. So the school itself offered the advanced placement courses, or the AP courses, to the high school juniors and seniors. And to do IB, you had to say, I want to do the IB on top of everything else I'm already doing. I had done the MYP in 9th grade, so I liked it and I wanted to continue, but I knew I was signing up for quite a bit more work. And so what I would say about, the IB preparing you for university is that it comes back to, I think one of you said this before, it comes back to the choices you make. Like, you have to choose a pathway within the IB that's going to set you up for what you're doing later. And I can confirm that from my own experience. And I ended up majoring in English and political science. And as an English major in the United States, we were asked to write a lot of essays. And all the kind of writing skills that we worked on in the IB, that helped me a lot, because my friends who maybe hadn't written a 5-page essay in high school at all, they would get the first 5-page essay at university and they were freaking out because they didn't know how to do that. And to me, that was a walk in the park, specifically because I had done the IB. And the extended essay taught me a lot of research methods. That's something else I really want to mention, is that the research methods you learn on the extended essay, citing scholarly sources accurately, knowing what to look for, finding good sources to back up your argument, that helped me a lot at university level, writing those kind of capstone, those bigger projects. Because often, a professor may not have the time to support you with that kind of thing. And this is something that I can confirm from my friends who went to university after the diploma program. They similarly had an easier time with that kind of stuff. And, in working with Dr. D'Souza, our academic and careers counselor, she hears this all the time too, that, universities really like IB graduates because they know how to write, they have these skills built in, and it's something that I've benefited from, so, yeah.
Yeah, I actually heard from Dr. D'Souza a couple times. She's mentioned that she's heard back from graduates from here who have gone to the States for college, and they've said that their first year in college was like a walk in the park. Like, they were taking a nap just because of how well prepared the IB had made them for, the writing and all the academic content that they have to cope with.
And that may not be comforting to hear for a current 11th or 12th grader who's, in the middle of it. But it is true, you're playing a long game. And, I don't know, you've had this experience as well, I'm sure.
Well, to be honest, my experience was quite the opposite.
Oh, okay.
So my first semester was very hard. I think it's just the difference between American universities and German universities, because in Germany it's easier to get in. However, the courses to actually do well in these courses is quite a bit harder than in the US, because I've heard it's harder to get into the universities in the US, but therefore the courses are quite a bit easier. So I had a electrical engineering test in my first semester with a failure quote of over 80%. And I did not make it the first time. So only in the second time, where the failure quote was just below 80% again, I actually made it. And I had to study 6 weeks straight, including weekends. So I woke up at like 10, studied till 6, every single day for 6 weeks straight, only to pass that test. So yeah, it's for me, it wasn't a walk in the park, but for the people that do find it to have a first year that is a walk in the park is quite nice.
Yeah, I guess that's the difference between the German STEM university and the 4-year American colleges.
I guess so, yeah.
But even, on the point of study skills, right? Like having a very big essay or a big project that you do have to spend maybe 6 weeks, working towards, that's not something that everybody, has to do in high school, at least in the US. And so I think the diploma program setting those high bars, it really does prepare students in terms of their skill set also, in kind of maybe an abstract way.
Right. If I could add to that, the diploma or IB in general does prepare you very well and teach you how to study. That's a very valuable skill to have, because knowing how to study and what to study and setting up a procedure to know what to study is basically half of the test. Knowing what to study and how to study it.
That's going to take you a lot farther than any content you remember as well from what you learn.
Exactly. Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah, and while we're speaking of the extended essay, I'm not sure how many of the listeners already know about it, so maybe I'll just give a quick overview, correct me on any points. So it's a 4,000-word essay, a research essay that you write on a topic of your choice based on either one or two subjects. You'll be you'll have a supervisor, one of your teachers that you choose, and you'll investigate into, like, you'll come up with a research question and you'll investigate into that. So yeah, I think it's a really valuable thing to do. I mean, I'm currently in the middle of it. The deadline's actually next Thursday. One thing I can tell you, start early, because I know a lot of people right now are struggling
Yeah.
because those 4,000 words, they need some time.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely get started on that earlier. While we're on the topic of core, TOK, theory of knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, John, do you wanna?
I had a very good TOK teacher, and I think with sort of the engagement that he brought to class and the excitement that he brought along to our TOK discussions, it made it a class that I looked forward to most of the time. It can be easy to sort of get bogged down by the high-level concepts, learning about learning, knowing about knowing, thinking about thinking. But I think, having that, the excitement in the classroom and then sort of the discussion that was available between my classmates made it an interesting class to take part in. And I really enjoyed putting together the TOK exhibition, the 11th grade project in the class, where you have to pick 3 objects that respond to a prompt about learning and knowing. I really enjoyed sort of picking out objects that were meaningful to me that I could, write about. The TOK essay I enjoyed a little bit less. I decided to write about art and history and knowledge in those fields, which are 2 classes I hadn't taken since 10th grade, so that might not have been my smartest move. But overall, I came away from the class, I think, feeling that it was a positive learning experience for me.
Yeah, Kevin, what was your experience TOK? I mean, I believe you did your diploma more or less during the COVID pandemic, so
Correct.
it might have been a different experience, but...
Now, I mean, when I had TOK, I was back at school again, like physically at school, because there was a time where we had online school. However, like, it wasn't unpleasant, the course, I just didn't see a point in it. Therefore, I didn't invest much time of studying or just working on the essay itself. I did pass the TOK course, which was quite good. However, I just never really saw a point, but I guess that's just because I'm a guy that doesn't really cope with the philosophical questions and everything like that. You know, I'm more like direct.
Practical, physical.
That's what I'm trying to say, exactly.
Yeah, and those 2 components, the extended essay and the TOK exhibition and essay, you get graded on a scale of A to E, I believe.
Yeah.
And then you can get up to 3 extra points on top of your 42 points which you get in the different subjects.
Yeah.
So the IB is made up of 45 points, up to 45. You can get up to 6 sevens, and then 3 of the core element. Extracurriculars.
Yeah, and then you got CAS on top of that, which is, you either do it or you don't. You pass or you fail your diploma.
Yeah, so it's pretty much creativity, activity, or action, I think, and
Activity,
service.
yeah.
You have to complete at least one activity. Like, you have to complete different activities from each of those categories, and these are like extracurriculars, like sports. I mean, playing music, taking part in band. I mean, John, we both did band. That was fun.
Yes.
And you either you have to always regularly reflect on those activities. And what's your opinion on that? Like, how do you balance school and these extracurriculars? For sort of my entire time at school, I was always big on
joining into the extracurricular activities. I remember still in 6th grade, I had an activity every day after school, which I wish I still had that energy in me today. But yeah, going into the diploma, I was already a part of these extracurriculars like bands, like MUN, like the Strategy Games Club. So having CAS sort of on top of all of my IB studying and content and learning was never a big challenge for me because I sort of went into the program with those things built into what I had. I do think an important part of CAS is the service element, so that could be volunteering, helping out, organizing your own extracurriculars for the student body here. That, for me, did take a little extra initiative, having to sort of find ways that I could help out around campus, but CAS, again, positive experience for me in the IB. I think it's a great way to sort of separate the stress of the schoolwork and have, something that should be fun that you can fall back on and go to when you get bogged down by all the content.
Yeah, and part of CAS, as part of the CAS scheme, you kind of have to also do a CAS project, right? For the 10th graders, that's similar to the personal project-ish. You have to do something bigger where you take your own initiative on a project and set it up and get it up and running. Jon or Kevin, do you want to highlight one of your experiences or your CAS project?
To be honest, I only have a vague memory of my CAS experience in the entirety. I believe my CAS project was called Architecture Club, and I hosted that with a fellow student. And that's all I can recall. I mean, I've forgotten it.
Yeah, pretty similar for me. The important thing with the CAS project is collaborating with multiple students. So I and 2 others organized, I don't know if any of you guys know the game Math 24. We played it in primary. You get a card with 4 numbers and you need to make it equal 24 with addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So we hosted a little mini tournament for the students over the course of a month for our CAS project.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I just remember when I was in high school, I volunteered at my church to help out with a group of kids who needed, while the parents were busy in meetings or whatever, I was running play activities or whatever. And it was my first time working with young kids and, putting on programming and entertaining them. And we would do ice cream once a month. And I shepherded them through town to go, it was frozen yogurt, pardon me. Oh my goodness. But I say that because that was something I chose to do that ended up showing me that teaching is actually something I quite like to do. And I think, if you use CAS as an opportunity to try out something that you're already interested in or that you may want to develop, who knows what could come of that. And that's another thing, we spoke earlier about the IB is kind of what you make of it. CAS is right there for you to try out something that could end up being a professional pursuit. It could end up being something you do later in life. So it's another great opportunity the program has to offer, I think.
Yeah. Guess I have a career in Math 24 company
There you
to
go.
look forward to.
There you go.
All right, Kevin, I know you were pretty big on the technology first global challenge. Does that ring a bell?
That does ring a bell. So that was also an extracurricular activity I did, which I was very fortunate to have taken part in because the first global challenge was hosted in 2019 in Dubai. So that was just 1 year before all of COVID started and everything. But yeah, it was like a robotics club, how we would call it, and I think it's a great addition to the course or school in general, because you can actually build stuff, program it. In terms of robotics, I'm talking the stuff is just robots. So building frames, getting an understanding of electrical, I wouldn't say engineering, but an electrical understanding in general, and how machines work in general. It was quite
And
very good.
you actually got the opportunity to go to Dubai, I believe.
That's correct. So we were actually invited into the first global challenge to represent Germany. And so it's an international competition which is hosted annually. Each year there is a different challenge that has to be taken upon, and you have to design your robot based on that challenge. So you can't reuse a robot from the previous year. And we were flown out to Dubai for a week, I think it was, in October of 2019. And it was an amazing experience. I mean, honestly, my teammates, epic people, honestly, love them. Mr. Besnick, Mr. Jacobs, Mr. Albanese, everyone who was, Yanel, sorry, I did not forget you. Everyone who was involved, it was just a great experience overall, and everyone was having fun and was able to learn from that experience.
Yeah, and I think that just highlights the opportunities that you get from like just taking part in CAS, getting involved in the community. It just opens up so many possibilities and so many, like you would have probably most likely not ended up in Dubai if you would have been for CAS. Yeah. So just before we end this up, do you have any tips for 10th graders heading into the diploma?
I could give them like a full monologue about all of the stuff I think is a good idea, but I know from being in 10th grade myself, there is a very small chance that anybody will actually listen to the things I have to say. I feel like that's the sort of the tragedy. You have the experienced graduates and 12th graders trying to pass down wisdom to the 10th and 11th graders, and nobody ever listens. And then that just sort of repeats itself. But if I did have to say one thing, I would say try to have fun. That can definitely be difficult. I've been finding it a bit more difficult now, right before exams start. But I think if you can find those small moments of joy throughout 11th and 12th grade, I think if you can harness those, you'll get through the program just fine.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, especially just having a great community around you or a good and fun learning environment is the key to having fun in the diploma program as an entirety. And I could only speak from experience. I mean, like, I was really looking forward to the classes of computer science HL, because the teacher was just such an amazing person. He actually had the passion of teaching, and you could really feel that. And if the teacher has the passion to teach you something, you, the student, also have the passion for that subject and actually want to learn more. So, like I said, it's just all about the learning environment that you're in. It needs to be good, and then you'll have fun throughout the DP.
Yeah, and I would say to any 10th grader entering the diploma program, it's a good idea to have a sense of kind of why you're doing this, right? Like, what are you working towards? Are you preparing yourself for a certain kind of course of study, for a path after school? Are you really interested in the idea that you chose to do research on for your extended essay, right? Having a sense of purpose throughout the whole thing is going to make it that much easier to kind of undergo that rigor and to really enjoy it, as you say, right? To find a way to get something out of it. But that doesn't happen by itself. You have to have a sense of kind of what you like, what you want to do with it, and where you're going. So starting to think about that in 10th grade is maybe a good idea.
Yeah, and I can only emphasize that point. I mean, it really helped me to just like know what I'm doing it for, like the course I want to actually study. That's like the thing that made me like pick the HL subjects. That's another thing. Make sure to pick like proper HL, SL classes. We already touched upon that though. But yeah, just know what you're doing it for, whether it's for like a score you need to achieve or a specific university you want to go to. I think that's very important.
And yeah, I just think something as simple as getting through and graduating, I think I'm already looking forward to the joy that'll go along with surviving the IB diploma with all my classmates.
Very motivating, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in your position, I was feeling the same. I was quite stressed, and I was scared, to be honest. But looking back at all of the diploma program, it was honestly quite a pleasant experience, quite fun, and in a few years you'll be just as you're going to look back at the time now, and you're just going to laugh at this, and think to yourself that no need to be stressed.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to touch upon before any other things?
I just feel I'm a bit obligated while we're talking about the IB to mention that I wrote my extended essay on whether or not Die Hard is a Christmas movie. I just like telling people about that. So
What's the answer?
I can give it to you in 4,000 words. I just like advertising that, getting that out there. So thank you for letting me self-promote that.
Yeah, so that's extended essay. Anything you want, just make sure it's fun, you enjoy it, and then it'll be easier. So, before we end, what's your favorite place to be, or favorite thing to do in Hanover, Mr. Liebster?
Oh man, maybe not the most exciting answer, but I'm big into like taking walks, and I think an underrated place to take walks in Hannover is the Mittellandkanal. There's some really nice spots there where you can just like kind of be by yourself, maybe put on a podcast, this excellent podcast, for example. It's a great place to be. The Georgengarten as well, over by the university, is a really lovely place to just go for a stroll. And of course, the Maschsee, everybody knows about the Maschsee. And I think in terms of things to do, Hannover surprisingly has like a lot of good restaurants and cafes everybody should go check out. I hear a lot of like negative Hannover talk around here sometimes, and there's a lot of places, like just go walk around, like you'd be surprised what you find. So go take walks, everybody. It's my speech.
How about you, John?
I think my favorite activity that we have here in Hanover has got to be the zoo. It is by far the nicest zoo that I've ever been to. I just think, the atmosphere there, it's great for all ages. And I mean, even just going in and sitting down at one of the restaurants there and getting some hummus, I think is just really fun to do. And my favorite place to be in Hanover has got to be the Lister Term Beer Garden.
Cool place.
Yeah, just great atmosphere, great food, great drinks, especially the Sprite there they have. And you're surrounded by the forest. I think it's just nice place to be.
Yeah, so I'm big into the food experiences. So there is a great baked potato place in Hanover. I've forgotten the name, but I know where it is. I'm gatekeeping,
There's this great potato place. I'm not going to tell you where it is.
Exactly. No, but honestly, they have great baked potatoes. You can like put chicken breast in it and baked beans and everything you want, and taste absolutely amazing.
Yeah, maybe we can just blend that into the Spotify maybe later on, but we'll try and find out. Hello everyone, this is Nick from Post Production. I just quickly wanted to let you know that the restaurant he was talking about is called Happy Kumpir. Please enjoy the rest of the episode. So yeah, I think that's all. All right, I think we'll wrap it up there. I hope this was as interesting to you as it was to me. And thank you all for tuning in, and I hope you tune in next time. Thank you, and goodbye.